Welcome to Faith on Film with Isaac Hernandez and Holly McClure. Keeping you informed on faith and family entertainment.
Hello, I'm so glad you've tuned in to this episode of Faith on Film. We've got a great show for you today. Starting off with Holly, who got a chance to sit down with Roma Downey and talk about her latest project, On a Wing and a Prayer, starring Dennis Quaid and Heather Graham. After that, our field correspondent, I love the sound of that, our field correspondent, Hailey Knudsen, got a chance to sit down with Neal and Jeffrey Harmon, who are, of course, the founders of Angel Studios, and talk about their animated series, WINGFEATHER SAGA. Great series, great animated series for your children. She also got a chance to sit with Jody, Benson, who is the voice of Ariel on Disney's Little Mermaid. And on the WINGFEATHER Saga, she is the voice of Mia. So we have a very exciting show for you today. But first, let's start off with the trailer to On a Wing and a Prayer, and then on to Holly.
How long's the flight, Daddy?
You start taking a nap on the runway. When you wake up, we'll be back home in Louisiana.
906 Bravo, Bravo. Enter the pattern on left downwind.
Appreciate you sacrificing your Easter Sunday just to fly us home.
You're welcome to ride up front.
Looks like a space shuttle.
That Mooney's waiting to taxi.
Turn your headset. You can listen to me talk to air traffic control.
From your traffic in sight.
Are you steering with your feet?
Yep.
Going on to the spirit in the sky.
Here we go.
It's where I'm gonna go when I die and the name of the
Climate maintain 14,000.
Aren't you supposed to repeat back what he just... Joe. Miami Center. Is anyone there?
Say your tail number and intention.
Doug, what's going on?
I've got an emergency up here. My wife and daughters are on this plane.
I need you to stop a plane crash. You're the only person I know who can save them.
Have you flown a King Air?
Never.
You've got a very tight window. How long's it been in the air?
Start easing off of those controls. Can you do that?
We got a real good co-pilot up here.
Landing gear down.
I got it. I'm looking for the emergency procedures.
No doubt we're gonna need them. Make sure you're buckled up back there.
He's flying right toward the storm. He is never gonna make
This guy's got no chance.
I love you, girl.
You can do it.
Sometimes you gotta trust in things you can't see.
Let's go, Doug. Let's go.
What better show to have this kind of movie on, Faith on Film, than your kind of movie, because there definitely is faith in this movie, and it's wonderful to see. It was an exciting movie, guys. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Holly.
Glad
You know, I tell you that Doug, Isaac watched it, I watched it, and he said, boy, from a male perspective, he goes, it was intense. He goes, I was like going, what would I do if my family was in the plane? What would I do if my daughters and so it really did stir that kind of emotion. So our question is, the note said that after you had this experience, you started flying again. I mean, that didn't put the fear of God in you to get in a plane and be a pilot again?
Yeah, a buddy of mine told me last week before last, he said, how'd you get home that night? I said, we got 4 tickets on Delta Airlines. He said, I wouldn't have flown home after that. I'd have drove home. I'd have walked home. But I had a decision to make right after that with all the emotion and everything. Am I going to get back on the horse that threw me, as I said earlier, or am I never going to get back on again? And I said, I'm going to get back on the horse. So I got focused again like I did on that airplane, and I'm going to learn how to fly this thing. So I went basically from a Cessna 172 trainer to a King Air 200. I skipped everything in between. But I went on and got my instrument rating, my multi-engine, my commercial, and ended up over 1,000 hours on that. And we flew wounded warriors around the country and flew into Haiti in that airplane about 8 times after the earthquake and delivering stuff. So I got after it. I could have quit and gone the opposite direction, but I'm geared up different, I guess. But so
God used you in a mighty way. He used your experience. How did it feel to have Dennis Quaid play you, Doug?
Probably could have done a better job than Quaid, but I wasn't gonna fool with it for $10 million. I said, give it to Quaid. But no, I'm flattered. He's not a B-list not a B-list player. So he did a great job. He called me 4 or 5 times during filming. And let me ask you a quick question. What were you thinking when you did this and didn't do that? And I'd tell him, okay, got it. And he'd call me back. And my daughter and son-in-law were in the film in a little bit part, and they both said on 2 different occasions it's absolutely eerie, the mannerisms that Quaid has that are exactly like Dad's. Matter of fact, one time they saw him walking across the stage from behind, they thought it was me. So he gets an A for his work.
Yeah, he did an excellent job for us. We're so thrilled with his performance. I think he really portrays, the first third of the movie. We wanted to show a family with joy, a normal family, so that when the incident occurs, we really understand the peril and the potential risk of what they're going to lose. And I think through Dennis's extraordinary central performance in this, Heather Graham, of course, is amazing as his wife, and Jesse Metcalf rounds out the star cast with the role as the expert pilot that helps to talk them down on the ground. But we gathered a great team to bring Doug and his family's story to the screen. And I think that audiences everywhere will be thrilled with the results, and even more so when, they realize that it is a remarkable true story.
It is. And there were so many people involved in this. Did you ever, Doug, get a chance afterwards to talk to every single, there was so many people that had input, and getting you down and interested and passionate about, the rescue people. Did you have a chance to meet those people?
The next year, the Air Traffic Controllers Union, NATCA, NACA, had their annual convention, and they flew us down to Florida to meet all of them and watch them win a once-in-a-lifetime award. And I had some plaques made for each one of them and presented it to them. It's on YouTube. And so I met all of them, and Kerry Sorensen, the fellow that was in Danbury, Connecticut, helping us on the cell phone. I flew the King Air up there. I spent the weekend in his house, so I know them all. I've got all their cell phone numbers, and we'll be friends for life. It's like going through combat with somebody. You'll know them for the rest of your life, and that's what it was.
Yes, and Roma, there was such a divine message without even preaching it. It's there, isn't it, in this kind of a film and story?
Yeah, I think that was probably the thing that was most appealing to me about the script. When the script turned up on my desk at Lightworkers, Brian Egerton wrote a wonderful screenplay. And, if it's not on the page, it's not on the stage. So it began with his screenplay. And then we also, as in real life, where it required so many people had their hands on it. And then obviously God had his hands all over it. Likewise, as I started putting the pieces of the film together with my producing partner, Autumn Bailey Ford, and the director, Sean McNamara, and we pulled this extraordinary cast together. And Doug and I were just talking about the aircraft that was built and the technicians that were involved in recreating that and the special effects. It really does take a village to make anything. But in this case, for our movie On a Wing and a Prayer, we brought a great team together, and at the beginning of it, we prayed into it as well. At Lightworkers, we never do anything that we don't begin with prayer, and ultimately, what was generated is a movie that's a thriller. It plays out like a thriller in the air that delivers a story of inspiration and hope, and ultimately, all the glory belongs to God.
Absolutely, it does. Absolutely. Well, it's a wonderful testimony of faith, and it's a wonderful story coming out for Easter. This is great timing, you guys. What a perfect story to come out to celebrating Easter and the reason for the season, for sure.
That's right, and the actual event in Doug's life happened on an Easter weekend, happened on Easter Sunday. So when Amazon Prime told us that they were going to stream the movie for Easter, we were just thrilled. It's a perfect story. It's a story that families can gather around the TV together, Holly. It's a family-friendly film, and there seem to be fewer and fewer of those these days that we feel comfortable watching with our kids and with our grandparents. So we're very pleased about that. I think that it will be an inspirational story for Easter for families everywhere everywhere, and they could see it on Prime starting April 7th.
And I'm just curious, Doug, now that you've seen the movie and you've seen Dennis Quaid play you and you've seen all the scenes, and Roma, I'm going to ask this too. Doug, what is your favorite scene? What's the one that you really like out of the whole movie that you've seen that really touched you, or you love the way it was portrayed?
Very last scene when Quaid's eating a sandwich and he's deleting all the voicemails on the answer machine, requesting interviews. All of my family said, "That's so Doug right there." Because I got inundated with all these national TV shows within 36, 72 hours after it happened. Oprah and Ellen DeGeneres and Craig Smith or whatever his name was, the CBS, all these things. But I wasn't ready. I wasn't mentally ready to deal with all that. I mean, I barely got home, and here they are. They got cell phone numbers of family members of mine that I don't have the cell phone numbers for. Right? How they do that, I don't know. Can you get us in touch with Doug? Can you get us? So, yeah, but deleting all those messages at the end was spot on.
And Roma, did you have a favorite scene now that you've seen it?
Well, I think for me, the tension and the emotional investment that I have in the family as an audience member. So when the plane is finally landed, and Dennis as Doug, the kind of relief flooding into his body, and he says thank you to the Lord, because I think we all, we've all been in times of crises or have challenges come in, and we've all reached out in prayer, but it's the reminder to also say thank you when, deliverance, when when their lives were saved, the hand of God had to have been on them that day, and remembering just to thank the God for the gift of that.
Well, we love this movie, and I just pray that it is successful. And I love that it's on Amazon, because a lot of people can see it now everywhere. And that's the fun part of this, is that it's not a just theater-going movie, but now people can really tune in and watch it and spread the word and tell family members. And Doug, what an inspiring story. Thank you so much. And Roma, thank you for coming and sharing with us about the movie. And we wish you much success, and we'll be following to see how God takes this, and who knows, the lives that'll be impacted and people spared and saved because they've been through a situation and they saw what your faith was and then the journey you came through. It inspires so many. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Holly.
My pleasure.
Hello, my name is Hailey Knudsen. I am here today with Faith on Films with these two lovely gentlemen. This is Neal Harmon, CEO of Angel Studios, and Jeffrey Harmon, Chief Content and Marketing Officer of Angel Studios. So I just want to start off by saying thank you so much for bringing family-friendly content to the screen. As an 18-year-old, I can say that my generation didn't grow up with a lot of that, besides VeggieTales, which I watched vigorously. But so where did this vision of Angel Studios really spur from? Where was the beginnings of it?
Just brothers wanting to solve a problem for our children. That's where it came from. We started trying to skip inappropriate content. My 9-year-old, I wanted to share with him Cinderella Man, a favorite movie of mine, to teach him about honesty. And there's a coach that has a mouth in that movie, and I didn't want my 9-year-old using those words with his younger sisters, so I programmed a technology that would mute the bad words so they wouldn't hear them, but they'd still be able to understand the story. And then they got the lesson, but they didn't repeat those words. And as brothers, we decided to start a business around this once we caught the vision that if we built this technology and did it well, it would attract an audience of people to whom we could create better content than Hollywood could. So that was the beginnings.
Boy, howdy, has that attracted an audience for sure. Lots of crowdfunding. So tell me about the crowdfunding. Like, how can people get involved in that, and how is it different than other studios?
It's totally different than most studios because it's fan-owned content. The fans own the shows. They're the ones putting the money in, and it means that rather than a Hollywood gatekeeper deciding whether or not the content makes it, we were tired of seeing so much, the stuff we want to see isn't getting past the gatekeepers. So let's just open up the gates and bring in content this way. And then so basically a fan can go and invest in a project, like 19,000 people invested, around 19,000 inside of The Chosen. Or I think over 10,000 people invested in WINGFEATHER SAGA. different 8,000 people invested in Dry Bar Comedy. So there's all these different projects that people are saying, I want this to exist, and so they put their own money down. And then if it makes money, they can make some money back.
Oh, wow. So the people will get to see what they finally want to see.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
incredible. So how have you seen God move throughout all these different movies and projects and the beginnings of this amazing thing?
Well, we definitely, as we look back on some of the experiences we had, we survived a lawsuit from the largest media company in the world,
wow.
Disney, and we don't know of another company who's done that. And as we look back on how that came together, it's hard not to recognize a divine power helping us. Not because of us per se, we just think that the problem we're trying to solve, that we wanted to solve as young parents, needs to be solved so badly
That
that
God's helping out.
God's helping out as long as we, keep following His principles.
Wow, that's incredible. So how was getting through that lawsuit? I mean, that had to just take a lot of courage from y'all and turning to Christ. Like, how did y'all get through that?
We almost didn't get through it.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a point where we had how many days left in cash? Less than 40 days.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah,
Wow.
I think it was just over a month.
Yeah, over a month before we run out of money, and then
wow.
That's the time period where Dry Bar took off. And we were working on The Chosen, and we threw everything at The Chosen, and it was a similar thing. We were investing to get The Chosen marketed so they could raise their money, and we were just down to like the very last days of, if it doesn't work, and then we get to a point where Disney wins a chunk of they win the first stage of the lawsuit, right? And they get a $62.5 million judgment against us for skipping content inside, skipping the...
In a way they didn't like.
Yeah, skipping swear words and muting. And at that point, we have to get a trustee in place, and the trustee tells us if The Chosen doesn't make $1.5 million by the end of 2019, then you're going to go into Chapter 7 bankruptcy.
It means your company's done.
And we're launching The Chosen like the rest of the season on Thanksgiving. So we have to earn $1.5 million in 5 weeks. And we had this idea to build a Chosen app and to do this pay it forward model. And it felt like inspiration to do it. And we're all working really hard to get this thing launched. And we launched at Thanksgiving, and we just barely made it. Right at December 31st, we hit 1.5.
It was literally 1.5 million.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow. That is just incredible.
So we've had a bunch of near-death experiences,
Man.
is what we call them in the entrepreneurial world. You call them, every big company has had near-death experiences at some point.
Wow. Well, it just shows that God has really got y'all. God has y'all in His hands. So how was it, like, did you lean on your family for support through that? How were they?
Yeah, when that $62.5 million judgment hit, I just went back to my wife and just cried in her lap, and it's like, I think it's over. I think we're dead.
Man, so that family aspect, I see that represented a lot in WINGFEATHER. So back to WINGFEATHER, how do you see that with the crowdfunding? I mean, that just went crazy for an animated film. Like, what's something that you've seen in WINGFEATHER that's just different from any other animated?
Well, the animation's totally different than anything we've ever seen. They've literally done a different art form and a different animation style to create this show. And it's special. Every single frame is beautiful.
Even the technology behind the animation is different.
Yes.
They're using video game technology to do
Oh,
it.
really?
Yes.
Wow.
And then they're doing it for a price that is unheard of. Like, they're creating a season for $5 or $6 million. And Pixar spends $200 million on a single film, and they're creating a season on that price.
Wow,
so it's really innovative what they're doing.
Definitely. Wow. That's just incredible. Like, it's just crazy to see all of this just coming together. Like, I was there for like the beginning of The Chosen. I remember my mom was like, hey, you have to sit down and watch this with my family. And we're like, okay, yeah, we'll sit down and watch like a series about Jesus. And we were just like, this is incredible. It was just
Yeah.
so well made. And like,
Yeah.
I even see it represented in Wingfeather, like watching like the little snippets and the sneak peeks. I'm just so excited to see this come together. And this whole event has just been incredible. Like, it's just nothing like I would expect. And I'm just so excited for all this coming together. And you can really see God moving throughout this project.
Thank you.
So, what's something that y'all really see that's different about Angel Studios? Like, why would somebody come to Angel Studios with their project instead of going to another studio?
Well, Angel's named after, not after us or the company. It's named after people like you and your mom who have supported Wingfeather and who have supported The Chosen. We call them the angels or angel investors. They're the ones who make these projects possible. And so creators who feel called to tell a specific story, they come to Angel because they want the gates to be open. They don't want to have to answer to Hollywood gatekeepers. They want to tell the story that they feel in their heart they need to tell and connect with their audience in the way that they feel that they need to in order to tell their story. And the Angel model makes that possible.
Wow, I just love that. That name reflects so beautifully. Wow. Well, thank y'all so much for sitting down today. This is Hailey Knudsen with Faith on Film. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you, Hailey. Good job.
Hello, my name is Hailey Knudsen. I am here with Faith on Films, and I am here with Miss Jody Benson. She plays Nia in the Wingfeather Saga. And I have to say, I feel like that I've known you forever. I mean, we're like duet partners practically. I mean, I grew up just singing Part of Your World and running around my kitchen with my little red wig on.
So great.
So, I mean, it's just an honor to be here with you. I mean, I don't feel worthy. Like, this is incredible for me. And how does it feel to just be like a voice of a generation? Like, I told my friends that I was going to come and see you, and they're like, oh my gosh, you need to take a picture. This is incredible.
Well,
so how does that
sweet.
feel?
You know, well, first of all, it's wonderful to meet you, and thank you for coming and, you know, just showing support for Wingfeather Saga. We really appreciate it. You know, it's a huge blessing. It really has been. It's been an amazing journey these last several decades. I've been part of the Disney family now for over 35 years, which is hard to believe. But it's been such a beautiful gift from God and such an amazing opportunity to meet people all over the world and hear their story of how they connect to the character like you're sharing with me. I love that. I love to hear the core memory of where everyone was the first time they saw the movie, the first time they heard the song, and just the impact of the character through the generations of families is really heartwarming and overwhelming to me to feel that I get to be a small part of each person's story.
Yes,
and it's really a huge gift.
Oh, wow. Well, how did you get involved in Wingfeather to begin with?
You know, I had an audition during the lockdown, and so I had created a little studio at home in my closet, you know, with some towels, and had my little iPhone and my little microphone, and just really two little pieces of the script for my character of Nia. But what I loved about her was that she was an incredibly powerful woman as a leader, but also just such a heartfelt mother of loyalty towards her kids, and just really connected with that character. So laid down this audition and sent it away. And several months went by and I hadn't heard, so I just, you know, you just make these auditions and throw them away, and if they happen, they happen. If they don't, that's fine too. So when I got the email from the agent that, you know, you're being considered, I thought, oh my gosh, that's right. I really liked that character. I remembered that. So I went back and I listened to it again and created some other little nuances and sent it back. And when I was cast, I had no idea because I'd never read the book, the series from Andrew, but I loved that it was a faith-based project, and I thought, oh, I haven't done that in a really long time, and this is a great match for me to be working with people that are like-minded as far as our spirituality goes. And it was just a wonderful extra added blessing to having the project. So it's been a lot of fun.
Wow. So going way back, when did you decide that you wanted to be an actor?
Yes. Let's see. I think I was 8 years old.
Oh, wow.
When I told my mom that I wanted to be a working actress. I wanted to sing, dance, and act to pay my bills. I didn't want to be rich. I didn't want to be famous. I had never seen a Broadway show, but I wanted to do a Broadway show. I don't know how I knew what a Broadway show was, but my passion was to be in a Broadway musical. So at 8 is kind of when I guess I just made that statement, and it seemed like every decision that followed after that was leading me on that path of what I just felt like God was calling me to do, and it's been an incredible ride.
Wow. So to young people starting out in the industry, do you have any advice for them?
You know, I think as I work with young people in high school and in college and people that are pursuing the industry, I think my first words of encouragement are to make sure that you have the skill set. Because I think what happens in this time period right now, especially with social media, with the whole concept of compare and compete, I think it's really dangerous. I also think what happens is that we start wanting someone else's skill set that isn't ours. So it's the job that we have, that I try to encourage young people, is to unearth what your skill set is that God has given you of a natural sense. There needs to be that natural giftedness. Those natural talents need to be unearthed. Then from that, you take that and you add the passion that you have towards it, because you have to be with that type of passion. You have to be motivated, because it's a very difficult industry. There's nothing stable about it. So I think having a natural skill set and then working on that to really see if that's what God wants you to do. Because there are many ways to use our gifts. Not all of them have to be front and center on stage or front and center in front of a camera. There are many aspects of ways that we can use our skill set. So that's just one of the things I try to encourage when I talk to young people.
Wow, I just love that. It's so beautifully worded. So back to Wingfeather, with getting into your character, how did you go about doing that?
Yeah, I think what's so beautiful is the first day that you go to work when you've been cast for a voiceover project is my favorite day, because you get to sit and in the presence, and of course this was on Zoom, but with your producer, your director, your writer, your creative team, and you start to play and investigate and find these characters together as a team, and that's really fun. I had no idea what Nia was going to be like, who she was, and they helped me figure that out. And I don't think about it in a technical way, like, what do I do with my voice? Do I make my voice higher? Do I make it lower? Do I make it raspier? I don't think in those terms. I think in terms of, like, who is Nia, and let's find her together. Wow. And so it's really fun to have that first day of exploring when you are finally birthing this character. It's really fun.
Wow, I just love that. I'm just so excited to see everything all put together and
me too.
See how you really develop Nia. So
I'm very excited to see it too.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for joining us here with Faith on Film, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Write to us at faithonfilmtv@gmail.com. That's faithonfilmtv@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Faith on Film TV. Also, go to our YouTube channel, Faith on Film TV, and hit the subscribe button and the bell for notifications on our latest Faith on Film shows.